Ginger Snaps by Jansen Davies. Chapter 1. Arrival. No one knew her real name. The manifest listed her as Human Cadet Number 001. But the moment she stepped off the transport shuttle and into the cold, humming corridors of Earth's Joint Warfare Galactic facility, the name didn't matter. The red hair did. It flared like a warning light against the sterile gray of the orbital station. A dozen alien eyes turned toward her, some curious, some amused, most predatory. She walked with her head high, boots clicking in rhythm, her duffel slung over one shoulder. Small, thin, human, alone. Ginger, someone muttered. The name stuck. The facility was a marvel of engineering, a joint venture between Earth and 27 alien civilizations, orbiting just beyond the asteroid belt. It was where the galaxy's most elite warriors were forged. No human had ever been accepted. Until now. Ginger passed beneath banners written in languages she couldn't read, past cadets with tusks, scales, feathers, and bioluminescent skin. She didn't flinch. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. Her quarters were a cell, one bunk, one locker, one viewport showing the endless black. She unpacked slowly, methodically. A photo of her parents went into the locker, face down. The next morning, the cadets assembled in the central atrium for inspection. Rows of bodies, some armored, some bare-chested, all towering over her. The training instructors walked the line, barking orders in a dozen dialects. Ginger stood at attention, eyes forward. Then he came. Instructor Tarn, 6 feet tall, skin like rusted iron, eyes like molten glass. He stopped in front of her, sneering. "A female?" he growled, reaching out with one clawed hand and pressing it against her chest. "Let's make sure." The room went silent. Ginger didn't hesitate. Her knee shot up, fast and brutal. Tarn doubled over, gasping. She leaned in, voice low and clear. "Just wanted to make sure you were male." Gasps, a few chuckles, mostly silence. Tarn straightened slowly, rage simmering beneath his cracked skin. He didn't speak. He didn't retaliate. He just moved on. But the damage was done. By the end of the day, Ginger had been marked, not just as human, not just as female, but as dangerous. She returned to her quarters that night and stared out the viewport. The stars didn't blink. They didn't care. She whispered to them anyway. Let the games begin. Chapter 2. The Inspection. The next morning, Ginger woke to silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that hums with intent. Her bunk was untouched, her locker unsealed. But her boots, her regulation issue, 0G combat boots, had been tampered with. She ran a finger along the sole and found the microfractures. One hard step in vacuum and they'd shatter. She didn't report it. Instead, she swapped them out for a spare pair she'd requisitioned quietly the night before. She'd expected this. She expected worse. The inspection drills began at 0600. Cadets lined up in formation, their bodies gleaming with sweat and polish. Ginger stood at the end of the line, her uniform crisp, her posture perfect. She was the only one not speaking, not sneering, not posturing. Instructor Tarn paced the line like a predator. His eyes lingered on Ginger, but he didn't approach. Not yet. Another instructor, a thin insectoid creature named Krell, stopped in front of her. His mandibles clicked as he scanned her gear. "Your oxygen regulator is miscalibrated," he hissed. "It's within tolerance," Ginger replied. Krell leaned in. "Not anymore." He tapped a control on his wrist. Her HUD blinked red. Oxygen levels plummeted. Ginger didn't flinch. She reached up, manually reset the regulator, and locked it with a bypass code. Her HUD returned to green. Krell stared at her. "You think you're clever?" "I think I'm alive," she said. The cadets around her chuckled. Not kindly, the kind of laugh that says, "You won't be for long." Later, in the mess hall, Ginger sat alone. Her tray held nutrient paste and a protein cube. She didn't touch it. She scanned it first. The cube registered trace toxins, slow-acting, untraceable after digestion. She slid the tray aside and pulled out a ration bar from her pocket. She ate in silence. Across the hall, a group of cadets watched her. One of them, a brute with tusks and a scar across his face, mimicked her movements, exaggerated and mocking. Another whispered something, and they all laughed. Ginger didn't react. She finished her meal, stood, and walked past them. One of them stuck out a foot to trip her. She stepped on his ankle, hard. He gave out a yelp and grabbed his ankle. Ginger moved on without breaking stride. In the corridor, she passed Instructor Torn. He didn't speak, but his eyes followed her. That night, Ginger ran simulations in her quarters, combat drills, tactical puzzles, alien language decoding. She didn't sleep. She didn't need to. She was already learning the most important lesson. This wasn't training. It was war. Chapter 3. The Gauntlet. By the end of week 1, Ginger had survived 5 sabotage attempts. Her oxygen tank had been tampered with again, this time during a vacuum drill. She rerouted the flow manually, mid-exercise while spinning through 0G. No one saw it. No one praised it. But she logged the fix in her personal journal, time-stamped and encrypted. Her scores were falsified. Instructors marked her as inattentive, slow, emotionally unstable. She didn't contest them. She let the numbers lie, let them think she was weak. In the mess hall, the poison attempts grew more creative. One cadet tried slipping a neurotoxin into her water pouch. She swapped it with his. He spent the next 2 days convulsing in medbay. No one connected the dots. Ginger kept her head down. She trained harder than anyone. She ran simulations until her fingers bled. She studied alien tactics, memorized ship schematics, practiced hand-to-hand combat against holograms twice her size. She never spoke unless spoken to. She never retaliated. Not yet. But the instructors noticed, not her scores, those were still rigged. They noticed her endurance, her silence, her refusal to break. Instructor Tarn watched her during a plasma grenade drill. She handled the explosives with surgical precision, her hands steady, her timing perfect. He made a note on his data pad. Not a compliment, a warning. That night, Ginger returned to her quarters and found her bunk soaked in coolant. Her locker had been emptied. Her photo of her parents was gone. She didn't react. She sat on the floor, back against the wall, and stared out the viewport. The stars blinked slowly, like distant eyes. She whispered to them again. "Still here." Across the station, in the instructor's lounge, Tarn reviewed cadet profiles. He paused on Ginger's. Her scores were low. Her evaluations were damning. But her survival rate was perfect. He tapped a claw against the screen. "She's hiding something," he muttered. Another instructor leaned over. "She's human. She won't last." Ton didn't respond. He just stared at her photo. Red hair, sharp eyes, unreadable expression. "She's not here to last," he said. "She's here to win." Chapter 4. The Tether Test. The assignment came without warning. Ginger was summoned to the launch bay at 0400. No explanation, no prep, just coordinates and a suit. She suited up in silence. The 0G combat rig was heavier than standard, older tech, less responsive, deliberate. She knew it. 2 other cadets waited at the airlock. Brutes, one with tusks and a triple-jointed spine. The other with translucent skin and claws like surgical blades. Both had reputations for accidents. Both had been seen speaking with Instructor Tarn. Ginger nodded to them. They didn't nod back. She didn't know their names, so she called them Pete and Repeat. The drill was simple, tethered maneuvering outside the station hull, simulating combat repairs under fire. Each cadet was assigned a section. Each tether was monitored, supposedly. As they exited the airlock, Ginger felt the shift. Her HUD flickered. The sensor feed went dark. No telemetry. No oversight. She was alone. The two cadets drifted toward her, slow and deliberate. One reached for her tether. She twisted away, but not fast enough. The line snapped. She spun into the void, untethered, drifting. They sent a signal back to the station. Incident occurred. Human cadet lost. Inside the station, Instructor Tarn waited at the airlock, arms crossed, expression unreadable. He expected grief. He expected paperwork. He expected silence. What he got was Ginger. The airlock hissed open. She stepped through, helmet off, eyes cold. "Cadet report," Tarn growled. Ginger didn't blink. One cadet's tether failed. The other attempted a rescue. Both were lost. They died locked together. "Heroes." Tarn stared at her. "You're lying." She shrugged. "You disabled the sensors. No record, no proof, just my word." He leaned in, voice low. "You killed them." She leaned closer. "I passed the test." He didn't respond, just gestured toward the command terminal. "Write it up." She did. Clinical, precise. No emotion. Later, in her quarters, she retrieved the photo from beneath her bunk. It had been returned, face up. She stared at it for a long time. Then she whispered to the stars. 2 down. Chapter 5. Return. The official report was filed. 2 cadets lost in a tragic accident. No witnesses, no footage, no questions. Command accepted it. Instructor Tarn didn't. He watched Ginger more closely now. Not with contempt, something colder. Calculation. She returned to training as if nothing had happened. Her scores, still falsified, showed marginal improvement. But her performance in live drills was undeniable. She moved like someone who'd stopped caring about survival and started caring about control. The other cadets kept their distance, some out of fear, some out of superstition. Rumors spread fast in confined quarters. "She's cursed. She's a ghost. She's not human." Ginger didn't correct them. During a 0G boarding simulation, her team was ambushed. The lead cadet panicked, misfired, and ruptured a bulkhead. Ginger rerouted the oxygen flow, sealed the breach, and neutralized the hostiles, all in under 60 seconds. The instructor overseeing the drill recommended her for a commendation medal. The next day, he was reassigned. No explanation. In the mess hall, Ginger sat alone. Again. Her tray untouched. Again. A cadet approached. Young, nervous, feathered skin twitching with anxiety. "Is it true?" he asked. "Did you kill them?" Ginger looked up slowly. "Who?" "The ones in the tether test." She stared at him. "They died heroes." He nodded, unsure, and backed away. That night, Instructor Tarn reviewed the incident logs. He found nothing. No anomalies. No inconsistencies. Just Ginger's report, signed and sealed. Tarn didn't sleep that night. Ginger did. She dreamed of stars, of silence, of floating bodies locked in frozen embrace. She woke before dawn and ran combat drills alone. Her fists moved like clockwork. Her breath never faltered. By the end of the week, 2 more cadets had dropped out. One claimed illness, the other simply vanished. Ginger's ranking climbed. No one congratulated her. No one dared. Chapter 6. The Quiet War. The sabotage didn't stop. It evolved. Ginger's training explosives were swapped for unstable prototypes, older models with unpredictable yields. She noticed the weight difference immediately. She didn't report it. She adjusted her timing, recalibrated the detonation sequence, and completed the drill flawlessly. The instructors watching from the observation deck didn't fare as well. The blast radius expanded unexpectedly. 3 instructors were caught in the shock wave. 1 was vaporized. 2 were thrown into the bulkhead, bones shattered, suits ruptured. Ginger stood at the center of the crater, untouched. She filed her report. Equipment malfunction. Recommend review of inventory protocols. Command responded with a single word. Noted. The surviving instructors began to whisper. Not about her scores, not about her tactics, about her luck. She's untouchable. She's engineered. She's something else. Instructor Tarn didn't whisper. He watched. He plotted. He assigned Ginger to a solo recon drill in the lower maintenance decks, an area known for electrical instability and poor comms. She accepted without hesitation. She moved through the dark corridors like a ghost, scanning for threats, logging anomalies. Halfway through, she found a tripwire rigged to a plasma conduit. Crude, rushed, desperate. She disarmed it, logged it, and kept moving. At the end of the drill, she returned to the command deck and handed Tarn a data pad. "Sabotage," she said. "Sloppy." Tarn didn't respond. His claws twitched. That night, Ginger found her quarters sealed, her access code revoked. She didn't panic. She rerouted through the ventilation system and entered from above. Inside, she found her bunk stripped, her gear scattered, and a message scrawled on the wall in alien glyphs. "Drop out!" She erased it, reassembled her gear, sat on the floor and stared out the viewport. 2 more cadets dropped out the next day. One claimed psychological trauma. The other was found unconscious in the waste reclamation unit. No witnesses. No suspects. Ginger's ranking climbed again. Instructor Tarn filed a formal complaint with Command. "She's destabilizing the program." Command replied, "Where's your evidence?" Tarn didn't eat that day. Ginger did. She sat alone in the mess hall, eating ration paste with surgical precision. Her eyes scanned the room. Her ears tracked every whisper. She didn't smile, but she was having fun. Chapter 7. The Mess Hall Incident. The instructors were done waiting. They called it a live poison gas drill. Ginger called it what it was, a trap. She was assigned a set of poison gas grenades for toxic hull breach simulation. The grenades were old, pre-war tech, unstable, banned from use in most sectors. She scanned them. The readings were off. The casing had been tampered with. The detonation sequence had been rerouted. She didn't report it. She rewired the sequence herself, rerouting the triggers to a remote frequency. Then she left the grenades in the designated breach zone and walked away. The instructors, 3 of them, entered the zone minutes later, expecting to discover her convulsing mid-drill, mid-failure. They didn't expect the grenades to arm themselves. The poison gas swept through the corridor, killing 2 instructors instantly. The third choked to death while trying to claw his way through the bulkhead, his limbs twisted at impossible angles. Ginger was in the mess hall when it happened. She sat alone, eating ration paste, her eyes on the viewport. The stars blinked slowly. The room shook. Alarms blared. Cadets screamed. She didn't flinch. Instructor Tarn stormed into the mess hall, eyes wild, claws twitching. "You rigged it," he snarled. Ginger looked up, calm. "I calibrated it." "You killed them." She stood slowly. "They gave me faulty gear. I adapted." Tarn lunged. She sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, twisted. He dropped to one knee, gasping. Around them, cadets watched in silence. No one intervened. Ginger leaned in. "You keep trying to teach me lessons. I keep surviving them. Maybe it's time you learned something." She released him and walked out. That night, she received a brief message from her mother. "Stay safe." She didn't reply. She sat in her quarters, staring at the photo of her parents, her father, her mother, her only links to humanity. She whispered to the stars. 3 more down. Across the station, the surviving instructors met in secret. They spoke of containment, of termination, of accidents that couldn't be traced. None of them noticed the surveillance drone hovering above them. None of them knew Ginger had hacked Command's black protocols. None of them would survive the week. Chapter 8. The Final Instructor. When 4 instructors died after consuming bootleg alien gamethol tainted with radioactive isotopes, Tarn became the last trainer on the station. He didn't sleep. He hadn't since the last incident, since the report, since the message from Command that read only, "Where's your evidence?" He knew what it meant. It meant she was protected. It meant she was untouchable. It meant she was a killer. It meant he was next. So he planned. He bypassed security protocols, disabled surveillance feeds, and forged a maintenance override. He waited until 0300, when the station was quiet, when cadets were dreaming of glory or death. He entered Ginger's quarters with a blade. It was ceremonial, curved obsidian, etched with the glyphs of his homeworld. A blade meant for honor kills, for silence. She was asleep, or so he thought. He raised the blade. She moved. Fast. The room went dark. The blade clattered to the floor. Tarn gasped, his throat pressed against the edge of a ration tray, his limbs locked by pressure points he didn't know humans could reach. Ginger didn't speak. She just looked at him, and then she let go. He stumbled back, gasping, bleeding. She didn't chase him. She didn't report him. She just whispered, "Last lesson." The next morning, Tarn was found in his bunk. Throat slit, no signs of struggle, no signs of forced entry. The report said suicide. Command didn't question it. Ginger received no commendation, no promotion, no recognition. She didn't want it. She sat in the mess hall alone, eating ration paste. Again, the few remaining cadets passed her in silence, in awe, in fear. She was no longer a student. She was a myth. That night, she stared out the viewport. The stars blinked slowly like they were watching. She whispered to them, "Last one down." Chapter 9. Graduation. The auditorium was silent. Rows of empty seats. No cadets. No instructors. Just Ginger, standing alone in her pressed uniform, red hair braided tight, boots polished to a mirror shine. She was the only graduate. The rest had quit, or died, or disappeared. The Admiral stepped forward, tall, stern. His uniform gleamed with medals earned in wars no one spoke of anymore. His face was carved from stone, but his eyes flickered when he looked at her. He held a golden diploma in one hand, the symbol of her status as honor graduate, of survival, of victory. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He handed it to her. She took it. Then he asked, voice low, almost gentle, "Did you have to kill so many?" Ginger looked up at him. Her eyes were calm. Her voice was steady. "How else was I going to get the training I need?" She paused. "Dad." The silence cracked. The Admiral didn't flinch. He just nodded once, slowly. "You're ready?" Before he left, he turned around and said, "Call your mother. She worries about you." She nodded and walked away, diploma in hand, boots echoing through the empty hall. Outside, a transport shuttle waited. Destination, classified. Inside, Ginger sat alone. She stared out the viewport as the stars began to shift. She whispered to them one last time, "Now the real fun begins." The end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, please hit the bell icon for notifications. Thank you.